Okay, Sinatapi, Nistu Nidaniko Mokoyo Sukoyi. I thought I would just begin because it's just such a habit in these last 6 months to wear a mask all the time. My name is Theda New Breast. I'm founding board member and consultant trainer with Native Wellness Institute, and I am board member of the Sovereign Bodies Institute, the database of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit. The medicine in our stand-up headdress, there's over 80 of us in the Blackfoot Confederacy, and I decided to wear it because I'm just a common human being, but the medicine in our headdresses are powerful together. And so part of our message to the tribal nations is around healing from historical trauma, especially the acts of violence, the domestic violence, the sexual assault, and just the strife, the strife and the combativeness that comes with the grief and with the transition during the pandemic. We may be without a paycheck. We may not have been able to make our car payments, or we're worried about rent. So we wanted to send some words of encouragement around our culture. The available time, just your time that you have with your loved ones. You might be intergenerational, might be multi-generationals in your home. You might be learning to cook with each other. You might be learning each other's favorite recipes. You may be sitting down and reflecting of stories. You may be, we've had so many births, because remember, in the cycle of the seasons and the cycle of all the protocols that we're taught is when you lose a life, a new baby's born. When someone passes over across the veil, across the Milky Way to the other side, a new baby is born. So if we have 180,000 that lost their lives, 180,000 babies will be born. We can't have large gatherings, and we're asked to wear a mask. We're asked to wear gloves. Just do that for a while. Just honor that. It's like honoring the life, all of the life. And so this first thing around protocols is, in cultural identity, one of the protocols is, to honor, as people get older and they're your elders, you honor them. You take care of them. So check on your elders. I mean, in some tribes it's defined different, but anyone over 50 years old, anyone on your reservation or your village or your rancheria, check on them. Bring them food. Bring them wood. Bring them, get them Wi-Fi. Get them free Wi-Fi. One of the greatest gifts you can give is to maybe, get them attached to Netflix. Get them, find out their favorite programming. Let them enjoy themselves. Let them sleep good. Bring them a lavender plant. So that is like one of the reclaiming, and rites of passage, because when you're younger, because they took care of you, it's time you take care of them. Other protocols, I was just thinking, what's cool is some people are, deciding, yes, they really do love each other. Yes, they want to make a vow. Yes, they want to make a commitment. So have have your weddings. Have your siblings have a ceremony. Sign up to be good to your siblings. Have mother-daughter ceremonies, father-sons. Reignite and reclaim. One of the things that we have to really help with is not the destructive use of drugs and alcohol. I worked for 4 decades with addiction, and I was just thinking about one of the women that has now got good recovery from opioid addiction. And I remember listening to her when she said, you know, I've always had this level of anxiety, just a little, like a zzz, like an anxiousness. I can't stop doing, I can't say no, I can't relax. She said, I'm just on the go all the time. Indians, they call it, oh, I'm really busy. Oh, I'm just so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm busy. I can't feel. No. But this is what she said, and all, just so that sometimes addiction is very hard to understand when you're healing from historical trauma. She said that the first time she chopped up, got my gloves on, the first time she chopped up an Oxycontin and she snorted it was the first time in her life she felt calm and serene. That drug gave her a calmness. And she said, that's what I strive for, is to cope with my surroundings and cope with what's going on. And so, you know, I can understand that addiction. I once heard a methamphetamine addict talk about the craving for that drug. And it just helps us understand, because we can build good treatment programs and help people get off these drugs. That methamphetamine addict said that the craving is so intense. That's why you steal from your own parents, your own grandparents, your own spouse, your children, your children's piggy banks. She said that, you know, when you're underwater, you dive down in the water and you know you want oxygen and you're coming up for breath, and you want and you crave to come out of that water and take that first breath. That's what she said the craving's like. So when you understand that, you have to, in the healing, you have to have those who have some time, some recovery. They're the ones that work with them. I was in the Betty Ford Center, my first treatment, then an all-women's treatment program. In that all-women's, I learned to walk heroin addicts. We learned to detox them in 2 weeks, talk to them, cry with them, stay up with them. And it was one of the most greatest, because, you know, indigenous knowledge is experiential. It's not something you can Google sometimes or something you read in a book. It's what you experience. And that's why with tribal people, you have to tell them your experience and how you healed. And that's how we can begin reclaiming our nation. Okay means my spirit's really happy to see your spirit. I was visiting with you about that colonization process on the northern countries. And so that description of the process, we started to nutshell it, you know, take away how come on the land, take away how they pray, disenfranchise their men, take their language, take their children, and that continual fragmentation or indoctrination. I'm just going to walk with you for a little while. It's a really nice evening here on Divide Mountain in the Blackfoot territory. I'm Amskapi Pikani, Blackfeet. That's how you say Amskapi Pikani. And then there's Abatsa Pikani near Brockett, Kainai at Standoff, and then Sixikai at kind of to the right of Calgary, over towards Gleason. Well, that process, once you do that, you know, you lock up the men, take the children, take the language, redefine the arts. All you do is add a drug, and that can be, you know, in the old days it used to be whiskey traders, and in the newer days it's Oxycontin and fentanyl and methamphetamine. But if you just add that drug, boom, genocide. So I'd like to talk about how do we fix that. And so one of the first pieces that I wanted to talk about is to start the journey of forgiveness. And forgiveness is one of the greatest gifts that you can have, that you can experience in your life. Because once you begin to go through forgiveness, that's when you self-actualize and you begin to become your mature self. So there's a couple of questions, you know, that you can go into the communities and with tribal people, and you can help with the facilitator, is to have answer two questions. The first question is, everybody share their story in their lifetime of when they went to someone and asked for forgiveness. And then the other question is to share their story of when they actually needed to go to someone and ask their forgiveness, but also the act of forgiving. And sometimes it's forgiving the unforgivable. I've worked with many, I work predominantly with women and family systems, but they may hold a resentment for a long time or a grudge or something, and to forgive someone even when they're not alive anymore, to walk through what they would say to them. A lot of role play, a lot of skits, a lot of psychodrama. Narcissus Blood, one of my mentors, said that's one of the greatest tools. The gathering of Native Americans, all of the curriculums in Native Wellness Institute, use those for forgiveness. Have forgiveness circles. Have forgiveness talking circles. And do it a little at a time, because sometimes Avis Archibald, one of our elders that's still alive, she said, forgiveness is done in baby steps. And so one of the baby steps might be that you just let it be. You just let it be. And that you move a little at a time towards that ultimate. And you know when you forgive someone, because a great weight is lifted from you, and you can you feel lighter, and you have that ability to love again. That's in self-actualizing. That ability to love shows maturity. Part of healing from historical trauma is allowing our grandma's wisdom and our ancestral wisdom to be used in 2020, especially in the past 6 months with this challenge and this gift a lot of our traditional people see this time as a gift because it's the umbilical cord to the earth was severed for a lot of tribal nations, a lot of villages, a lot of roundhouses, and a lot of longhouses. And we're now seeing that in this 6 months, everyone is returning to the land. They're camping on the land, they're growing on the land, food sovereignty, they're growing their own foods, they're bringing back more salmon, and those that are buffalo people, Ini like us, our herds of buffalo are prospering, and our children are prospering. I see so many children that wish for their parents to spend more time with them, except for those few minutes in the morning and do your homework and go to bed. I see the reconnection when we've been apart. It's either, for right now, it might be on Zoom or social media, but there's a lot of reclaiming. Even Indian names are being given on Zoom. Even funerals and the proper protocols for laying someone to rest are being done on social media. What are some of the things that tribes could really reconsider? First, it's set a goal that, every tribal member knows your creation story and can self-actualize for themselves and for their family and for their parents and their extended family, their kinship, that they know their creation story and not some other tribe. It's not like we don't want to take on other identities. That indoctrination is one of the toxic things that happened for our families, is that they were indoctrinated into other beliefs, other languages, other kinships, and some of it was traumatic. So a way to reclaim is to learn the history of your tribe, learn the events that pulled us away from our language. They sometimes say, the colonization process, or that process from the outside, has a formula because you can see it played out in other Australia, other places, Canada, Africa, New Zealand. That process in a nutshell, because sometimes we don't want to complicate this, is they come in and they really make judgment on how we live, so they take away how you pray, and they name it heathen, savage, and then they indoctrinate you to pray like them. Often a second step is however they can disenfranchise your men. And an ultimate disenfranchisement, they lock them up, they make them criminal. They take them away from the family unit. So you have single mothers or single parents raising children. They take your land, they take your language. Language is very important, because for us to heal and to reclaim is get your Indian name. Call everyone in your family by their Indian name. Tell the story of their birth. Every year, tell them the story of their birth. All of these rites of passage, that reclaiming. So part of that colonization is, once they have done that, they take your land, your arts. They will take your children. And often, that might have happened in residential school or in boarding school, or they might just take them with the commercials they watch. If they were raised on television, if they look at whatever is portrayed on television, then they want to become like what is on television. And now, on social media, they want to become like what they see on TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. And it used to be, in the very beginning, MySpace. And, but then that indoctrination is, it causes shame. It causes us to think about those 3 rules of don't talk, don't feel, and don't trust. And so for the tribes, we have to build trusting. We have to build safe places to tell our story and to talk. And we have to teach our children from the beginning to say how they're feeling. Often they say, some of our tribal people, there's 3 things that's really hard for them to say. I love you. Help. And I'm sorry. So teaching our children to apologize, teaching them to recognize behavior that's we need to apologize for, and trusting it's about safety. We really need to create an environment, especially for our tribal children when they're born, especially till 3 years old, those 3 formative years, that all they get is love. That all they're cherished, they're fed, they're held, they're kissed, they're told, Kitsikako mem, I love you, that they're always hugged. And even now, when we're elbowing each other and we have to wear masks, there's ways of doing it. Send them something in the mail, tell them that you love them. It's so those colonization processes, and then it's what happens is sometimes there's the hurt people hurt people. And when you're hurt, you hurt those that you love. And when you're in grief, and a lot of us are in grief because we've lost people to COVID-19, or we're losing people, or we lost a way of life, or we miss our offices, we miss our children going to school. And in grief, the grief is as big as the loss. So we have to have rites of passage when you lose your grandparents, when you lose your elders, when you lose your youth. I mean, there's all kinds of losses. And so those rites of passage, we have to reclaim and bring them into 2020. But there's good news. There's good news. Our cultural identity, all of our cultural ways, learning our songs, learning our stories, learning our plants, all of our medicine. I'm sitting in a place and below Minastico, Chief Mountain, and up this road is all the medicines right now. So I decided to just have a little conversation with you, and there'll be more to come.